Hi, folks. My name is Jen. What we're going to do today is we're going to do a book haul. I got a few books a while ago. I previously had one that I did not too long ago. Well, guess what, guys? I got more books. So, oops. These books that I just recently got, I got them at a book sale. Uh, there was like this, I guess it is like an annual book fair or something that Quakers in the area do every year. And we went to that, and I had some luck getting a bunch of books. So, I will share them. Some of them I've never really participated in Garb August before. I'm thinking that some of them I will save for that reading experience potentially. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about it. So I have two stacks of books here. I have this stack right here, which are books that I'm both excited about and also books that were just so fucking bizarre I couldn't not get them for the price they were. And then I also have another stack of books here, which were six for $1. 6 books for $1. They're all romance novels in the style of books that were my introduction to romance novels when I was a teenager. Like books that started my journey on that and are also mostly books that I've, for the most part, outgrown. They're not really stuff that I reach for anymore. I'm more likely to go towards, yeah, like the heated rivalry or the Kimberly Lemming like area rather than Lindsay Sands, for example, or some of these others that are in here. So yeah, anyway, I think we'll go with the books that I was super jazzed to grab first of all, and then we'll talk about the random ones that I found as well. Um, so first up, I found a copy of The Runaway Jury by John Grisham. I fucking love this book. Now, I haven't read a ton of John Grisham, but this is one of the ones that I have read. I've read this multiple times. Now, the last time I read it was like a year or two ago, I want to say, and because my dad has really, since he's all caught up on Clive Cussler, and Clive Cussler has passed, of course, he's kind of turned his focus towards other authors and stuff, and so he's been reading a lot of John Grisham. And I borrowed a couple of his books, and one of them was Runaway Jury. And I loved it so much that I saw that this was randomly there, and I was like, damn, I fucking love this book. I want my own copy. So, yep, I grabbed my own copy of Runaway Jury, and I might end up reading it again just because I'm just really excited to have my own physical copy of this book. Runaway Jury, it's 12 men and women have been investigated, watched, manipulated, and harassed by high-priced lawyers and consultants who will stop at nothing to secure a verdict. The jury must make a decision in the most explosive civil trial of the century, a precedent-setting lawsuit against a giant tobacco company. But only a handful of people know the truth. This jury has a leader, and the verdict belongs to him. He is known only as juror number 2. He has a name, a past, and he has planned his every move with the help of a beautiful woman on the outside. Now, while a corporate empire hangs in the balance, while a grieving family waits, and while lawyers are plunged into a battle for their careers, the truth about Juror 2 is about to explode in a crossfire of greed and corruption, and with justice fighting for its life. This is a fucking bomb ass. Like, it's so good. I read this for the first time in high school because I think that was around the time the movie came out with shit, who's in that? Is it John Cusack? I think it is. The movie came out. Loved the movie. I love a good courtroom drama. Loved the movie. Got it out of my school library. Love the fucking book so much. And so, yeah, really excited to have my own copy. Then I found this and I was like, you know what? This looks pretty cool. It is called Once Upon a Tome. It is by Oliver Darkshire and it is The Misadventures of a Rare Bookseller. So this says, some years ago, Oliver Darkshire stepped into the hushed interior of Henry Southern Limited. established 1761 to apply for a job. A novice in this ancient, potentially haunted establishment, Darkshire was soon on teetering stacks of editions and placing the store's resident ghost, the late Mr. Sotheran, hit by a tram. As Darkshire gains confidence and experience, he describes Sotheran's brushes with history, Dickens, the Titanic, its joyous disorganization, enchanting stories of rare volumes, and the unspoken rules of this gleefully old-fashioned profession. So, this is a story of life in one of the world's oldest bookshops. I do love a book about books. This is about a bookshop. It is non-fiction, I guess. And yeah, pretty pretty excited to read it. I don't know if I've heard of this before, to be completely honest, but it sounded really cool. The cover is beautiful. And yeah, I think this is going to be a very cozy book. I was thinking of saving this one for maybe the fall, but I don't know. This might end up being one that I take on our like annual vacation with me. So then we get into Billy Collins. I found another Billy Collins out in the wild. This one is Ballistics. So this is a collection of poems. Ooh, I didn't notice that before. Oh, it's got like a Happy Father's Day thing in it. Oh, that's sad. Anyway, this is, I don't know what's in this book. It just has a collection of his poems in here. And as I've stated previously, he is one of my favorite poets, I think. Didn't I read a book of his poetry not too long ago? Yeah, I think I did. I think it was like a month or two ago. So, yeah, I love his poetry. He is one of my favorite living poets, and I was just excited to find another random copy of his poetry out in the world. So, this one I will probably be reading fairly soon. Then, speaking of books I've read before, I was so fucking jazzed. I actually told the guy, the cashier, how excited I was about finding this. It is Pontoon by Garrison Keillor. This is a novel of a lake will be gone. Look at this. Look at what good fucking condition this is in. Like, this is in stellar condition. Like, whoever had this took really good care of it. Um, I'm so excited not only to find this out in the wild, to find such a nice copy of it. I have read this book before. This is a book that I actually read. Was I still in college at that point? I think I might have been. I think it was like the summer after one of my years of college because my one of my creative writing professors gave us this chapter. Good night, ladies. She gave us this first chapter to read as an example of just stellar writing, like stellar introductory writing, stellar introduction to a character, like just gorgeous. This introduces Evelyn, who is technically the main character of this story. It says, in Lake Wobegon lives a good Lutheran lady who is quite prepared to die and wishes to be cremated and her ashes placed inside a bowling ball and dropped into the lake. No prayers, no hymns, thank you very much. Meanwhile, the Detmer girl returns from California, where she has made a killing in veterinary aromatherapy to marry her boyfriend Brent aboard Wally's pontoon boat, presided over by her minister, Mr. Misty Naylor of the Sisterhood of the Sacred Spirit. Brent arrives on Thursday. On Saturday, a delegation of renegade Lutheran pastors from Denmark come to town on their tour of America, their punishment for having denied the divinity of Jesus. And Barbara Peterson, whose mother Evelyn left the startling note about cremation in the bowling ball, is in love with the lovely fat man who slips around town in dim light and reconnoiters with her at the Romeo Motel. And then there is Raoul of the cigars and tinted shades and rainbow sport coat and his long phone message after the angel of death has already come and gone. All in all, readiness for the wedding, the giant shrimp shish kebabs, the French champagne, the wheels of imported cheese, the pate with whole peppercorns, the hot air balloon, the flying Elvis, the pontoon boat, the giant duck decoys, and something else happens. It is Lake Wobegon as you've imagined it, good loving people who drive each other slightly crazy. That sounds like a lot, I'm sure. It all makes sense. It all comes together. Yeah, like I said, anyway, we were introduced to that first chapter of this book, for one of my classes. I fucking loved it so much that that summer when I went home, I found a my local library's collection of Keeler books, and I instantly got this out of the library and had such a good time reading it. I will admit, for a while there in the middle, I did get a little bit lost. I remember while reading because I was like, what is happening? And then the ending was just such a cacophony of ridiculous shenanigans. Like I'd say it kind of reminds me of one of those, what am I thinking of? Like one of those like crazy like 80s movies where everything's been really bizarre the whole time and then the ending is just like everything coming together in a just perfectly executed mess of absolute insanity. That's kind of how this book feels. Um yeah, and I remember how much I loved this. So really happy to also have a copy of that, and I want to give that a reread pretty soon too. And then I came across the books that are probably going to be part of Garb August. Maybe if I do indeed participate in that. I've had some mixed feelings about that. I know it's all in good fun, but I kind of waver back and forth between calling books garbage necessarily, even if I don't particularly like a book, or if I find a book to be particularly terribly written or whatever, I still kind of waver back and forth between referring to it as actual garbage, um, for the most part. But I know that for the most part, that like reading event seems to be taken like a tongue-in-cheek kind of like experience, but I still haven't ever like really participated or anything. And then when I was there and looking at some of these books that were at this sale, I was like, holy shit, I probably could participate in it, couldn't I? Because of the things that I have found, plus that really weird Tyrannosaurus Valley book or whatever thing that I got several months ago that looks like a Jurassic Park knockoff it. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe I could actually participate and see how things actually are with everything. So, anyway, that long winded explanation should be for the next couple of books that I got. The first of which is Shadowfall, a novel of Sherlock Holmes by Tracy Revels. Yeah, I don't know. It's a fan fiction, I guess, which is interesting. I haven't read too many of those. The cover just is like, what is happening here? That caught my eye. I was like, what is this? Um, the Sherlock Holmes, I was like, oh, we're in for it. And then the back of the book, here's the description. When the sacred relics and mystical objects of London begin disappearing, Sherlock Holmes must call on more than his powers of deduction to solve a mystery that threatens the safety of the British Empire and Dr. Watson's mortal soul. And that sold me. And I was like, wow, this sounds amazing and quite possibly awful. So I mean, no offense, really. I don't know. This is just my own thoughts about it, like what is happening with this exactly. So, yeah, interesting. Very interesting. It does seem like there's a lot of people writing continuing Sherlock Holmes stories. Watson's Afghan adventure in search of Dr. Watson. The official papers into the matter known as Hound of Baskervilles, close to Holmes. Yeah, a lot of stuff. So I don't know what to think. We'll see what happens. We'll see how this is. I might end up being really shocked and having a really good time with this, or this might just be really entertaining, like kind of how um B horror movies are kind of entertaining. They're a little bit weird, but end up being entertaining anyway. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I just could not pass this up because what the fuck? What? Oh, here's another what the fuck moment. So I saw this on a table, unassuming little book. It's called The Breast. It's by Philip Roth. And I said, excuse me, what? So I then opened the first page and looked at the first page. I don't know if I can really read this on here. There's a whole paragraph, a lot of exposition talking about how it began oddly. Blah, 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 blah. Very Dickens like in the over explanation of what they mean by oddly. And then the next paragraph says it began oddly then with a mild sporadic tingling in the groin. And I was like, Excuse me, what? So I was assuming that this was some weird, like, coming of age, like, oh my God, he suddenly realized he's attracted to breasts thing. And I was like, what is going on? Then I'm seeing some really weird things, in here. So I decided to Google it on my phone and try to figure out what the fuck is this book about. Guys, this is a spoof off of the Metamorphosis by Kafka. Now, admittedly, I read the Metamorphosis by Kafka in like high school, I want to say. Fucking hated it. Fucking hated it so much to the point that I will never pick up a Kafka again. Okay? It's a terrible time. Awful. Fucking ugh. Awful. Terrible. Hated it. This is a spoof of that, where instead of a giant cockroach or beetle or whatever the fuck the guy turned into, this is about a guy that starts turning into a 180-pound breast. Yeah, I know. Um, I mean, guys, yeah, that's gonna sound weird, but this cost me like $1. And I'm all for a weird book, okay? That Woman Who Likes Clean Restrooms book didn't work out for me, but Jonathan Livingston Seagull worked out for me. That was a really weird fucking book, and I had a great time with it, despite the fact that I was like confused most of the time. This, even if this doesn't become one of the best books I've ever read, I have a feeling this is gonna be worth a giant fucking laugh. So, plus I've never heard of this ever in my life. I'm very curious as to what the dust cover looked like. But here we go. Yeah, so I got that because what the fuck, you guys? So that's going to happen in August, and let you know what happens because why? Why? And then, like I said, we have some romance novels that I got, and they're like the old style of romance novels like I used to like back when I first started writing romance novel or reading romance novels. So the first of them is called Daring the Highlander, by Lauren Wittig. I like Scottish stories. It says Alig McLoy. I'm gonna butcher all of these names. I'm so sorry. Uh, Alig McLoy Leod Macleod. God, my Scottish ancestors are screaming at me. Returns to Assynt Castle with a heavy task. As penance for his oldest son's attempted treachery against the king, Aelig's father must step down as chief of the clan. Aelig is to take his place. There are elders to appease, a competing clan to ward off, and the castle itself is in shambles. Aelig enlists the beautiful widow Moraine McRelt to help him pull the keep back together, and her counsel soon becomes as invaluable to him as her presence is intoxicating. Only the two of them working together can save the clan from being set to fire and sword, but their partnership reawakens feelings of Moraine she swore she'd never hold again. So, interesting Scottish story. Then we have, and this one's kind of cool because it looks like there might be dragons involved. I don't know. I was excited. This is All I Ask by Lynn Kurland. It's a sweeping emotional novel capturing all the passion and majesty of the medieval period. So, more medieval, more Scottish. Set near the Scottish border at a rugged castle on the edge of the sea, this is the story of a courageous lord who lost everything he held dear, of a strong young woman willing to sacrifice everything for happiness, two lost souls who find in each other a reason to live again, to laugh again, and to love for the first time. So, more medieval Scottish stuff. There's a lot of that. I forgot how much of that there is. Then there's this one. Now I have heard of this one. I feel like I have heard of this one, and I have heard some buck wild shit about this one. So, as soon as I saw it, this I think was actually one of the first ones I grabbed because I was like, oh my God, really? It's called Velvet and Steel by Sylvie Sommerfield. Pretty sure this is one of the ones I have heard some weird ass shit about. So I was like, oh, I'm in for it. This is a classic one of like soft as velvet, hard as steel. Um, Commanded to marry a Saxon heiress in order to secure her lands for his king, Norman knight Royce Sword William did not expect to find the lovely creature who stood before him. Her flaxen hair billowed behind her, windswept from a recent ride, her defiant eyes the color of cornflowers on a summer day, of course. revealed the intelligence and gentleness her awesome beauty could not hide. For once, Royce was stuck speechless, and he knew he would be the one to spark fire that would set this maid aflame with desire. He was the largest, most intense man she'd ever encountered. His well-muscled chest rippled with every movement, his thick black hair fell in waves like the softest silk, but it was his gaze that both unnerved and touched her soul. His golden eyes, of course, glanced over her body and heated her to the very core of her being. For though he was the sword of William, a knight so passionate and powerful on the battlefield legends told his tale, Lynette saw the pain behind his handsome visage and knew she would be the one to heal the wounds of his tormented past. Oh my goodness. Plus, look, it's got a Kmart sticker on it. Ugh, nostalgia. Then there's Love's Desperate Deceit by, who is this? Kay McMahon. I don't think I've ever read any of these authors, to be honest. Does this have a step back? It does not have a step back. But yeah, so it's Shauna Radbourne had no intention of marrying the rich old lord who was her father's choice. Taking matters into her own hands, she found a man who had just as much to gain by wedding her as Shauna did herself. Brad Remington wanted something from Shauna, the deed to her family's estate, but when Shauna agreed to marry in name only, she didn't expect to be so strongly attracted to Brad. I can't get over the fact that their names are Shauna and Brad. Like, that's so 80s. What? How long ago was this supposed to be? Like, what? Anyway, she couldn't stop wanting his soft voice whispering words of love, his strong hands caressing her flesh, and his sensuous lips upon her own. Each time their eyes locked in mutual desire, she knew it would be impossible to keep to their agreement. Brad Remington wasn't looking for a wife, but was willing to do anything to hold the deed to Wrenhaven. At first, Shauna's proposal seemed like the perfect solution, but then the curvaceous blonde vixen began to tempt his willpower. She was beautiful and innocent, and Brad spent night after night dreaming of exploring her creamy skin and kissing her warm, luscious lips. It was all he could do just to try and remember Shauna's original proposal when all he desired was one rapturous night to wipe away love's desperate deceit. Then there's this one, Sweet Savage Eden by Heather Graham. Again, these covers are just so embarrassing. I was slightly mortified when I bought them, but that's how I usually feel when I get any of these books ever. I always feel slightly mortified, and I'm like, a woman over 30 who's had plenty of sex and gladly reads other romance novels, but these ones still manage to instill me with some level of mortification when I purchase them. Just, yeah. Anyway, Sweet Savage Eden. From the first time Jasmine's eyes met those of Lord Jamie Cameron in a smoky British inn, theirs was the wrong kind of attraction. Not gentle, slow, and easy, but hot, hard, and all-consuming. The illegitimate daughter of an actress and a duke, Jassy has dreams no man could wrench from her in a moment of desire. She resists the bold nobleman with all the strength of her soul, but her golden hair, fiery temperament, and indomitable spirit obsessed Lord Cameron, and he wanted her with him when he sailed for the new wilderness called Virginia. So he had a bargain for the Spitfire Jassy, one that only a very special woman would dare to make. And then finally we have Always by Lindsay Sams. Um, Bastard daughter to the king, Rosamund was raised in a convent and wholly prepared to take the veil until good King Henry showed up with a reluctant husband in tow for her. Suddenly she found herself promising to love, honor, and obey Eric always. But Rosamund's education had not covered a wedding night, and the stables were a poor example for an untried girl. Would Eric bite her neck like the animals did their mates? The virile warrior seemed capable of such animal passion, but his eyes promised something sweeter. And Rosamund soon learned that while she may have trouble with obeying him, it would not be hard to love her new husband forever. I don't like the whole obeying thing. That makes me feel the ick. Also, from this, it looks like they're having sex outside of a cottage. It's like, do you want ants? Because this is how you get ants in places, but whatever. Anyway, yeah. So here's my other editions of potentially Garb August reading or whatever. I don't know. Like I said, they were 6 books for $1, and all of the books that were over there that were not romance novels were just not really my cup of tea, to be honest. None of them looked interesting um, to me in that section, other than these potential romance novels. And I don't know, they might actually be really good. I'm just remembering how much of a I've changed as a reader, as more specifically as a romance reader since I first started reading them when I snuck them at my grandparents' house, and I just know that my tastes have changed quite a bit and I'm a little bit more picky about the writing, the romances, the characters, and character growth or lack thereof, and varying things like that. I'm just a lot pickier about it now than I was when I was like I said, 16 and sneaking them, because I wasn't supposed to be reading them, which was mostly this kind of shit that I would be sneaking. Um, so I don't know. We'll see how that goes. We'll see what I think about them. I'm hoping that I will at least like one of them out of that bunch. But yeah, that's everything that I got at the book sale. It was a really cool book sale. Everyone was there. It was so incredibly nice. Um, and yeah, as you can see, I got a good collection of things. So anyway, that's more books that I got. And more stuff to share my thoughts about. Anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed hearing my thoughts about all of these, or my initial thoughts about them, why I grabbed them. Let me know if you've read any of them. Let me know if any of you have read this book, because what the fuck, you guys. That one will be entertaining to talk about. I am mostly sure. Um, so yeah, anyway, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for always watching. If you're new here and would like to subscribe, please do so. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.